So you know, New Era Detroit, we're very active in this year's election. We active because we got to. We active because we got to make sure that we get out here and vote or gentrify. This is not a game. This is not something that we're playing with. This is not something that we're taking lightly. So what we're going to do is, so many people ask us about our slate and why we chose the people that we chose to endorse on our slate. So what we're going to do here is give y'all a sneak peek of up and close and personal as we interview each candidate on our slate that we endorse. Y'all going to be able to see why we endorse Coleman Young for mayor, why we endorse D.Etta Wilcoxon for city clerk, why we endorse Mary Waters for city council at large, why we endorse James Everhart, City Council District 1, why we endorse Nguvu Tsare, City Council District 2, why we endorse Dennis Green, City Council District 3, why we endorse Latisha Johnson, City Council District 4, why we endorse Mary Sheffield for City Council District 5, and why we endorsing Joanna Underwood for City Council District 7. So stay tuned, and y'all make sure to keep y'all eyes and ears open, and we about to go through exactly why, and y'all gonna be able to hear it from the people's mouths. So this is not us just telling you why to vote. Y'all gonna be able to hear and see each candidate out in the community with the people, which is very important. Each of our interviews was out in the community within their district, communicating with the people, explaining to the people why they should vote for these candidates. So as I stated, the primary election is August 8th. We need to make sure that we get out and vote. We need to make sure that we take this serious because it is serious. It's Vote Or Gentrify. If we don't get out and vote and take a stance, Detroit as we know it won't be the same city. We won't have the stake and opportunities that we should have in the city. So it's very important that we get out and vote or gentrify, and it's on us. Detroit is 80% black. So it's on us to be able to come out to the polls and let our voice be heard. We can't sit and complain about change and sit and complain about the policies and the laws that's being implemented. You know, just look at the Belle Isle, then gave that away. It's a state park. Then gave the water away. And we can't sit around there and complain about it if we're not getting out and voting and electing and putting the right council people in office to handle these situations accordingly. So we need to make sure we get out, vote or gentrify. Check it out. Here today with Senator Coleman Young, which hopes to be the very next mayor of the city of Detroit.
That's right.
People don't understand this is a very important election this year. Probably, in my estimation, one of the most important elections of our generation. We must get this current administration out, and that's just not even a conversation. And this is the guy that we believe that we picked to do so. So what we want to do today is just ask a couple of questions. We're just going to make sure that the community and the people understand who this good brother is and what he plans to do for the city of Detroit. So, you know, you can go ahead and introduce yourself to the people.
Hey, I'm Coleman Alexander Young II. I'm running for mayor of the city of Detroit. It's time for a change, man. You know, there's too many people out here who are hurting right now. And I think when you got a city where 48% of the city is living in poverty, it's a shame that we got billions of dollars flowing through the city and there's no money here in the neighborhoods. You got billions of dollars going downtown, but you know, you got this many people that are out of work. You know, there's a Bible verse that says, I've been young and I've been old, but I've never seen the righteous forsaken or begging for bread. And we got too many young brothers who are out here forsaken and are begging for bread. You got too many women out here who are overworked and underpaid. And you know, you got people who work at 2, 3, 4 jobs and still can't make ends meet. That's why I want to raise the minimum wage. That's why I want to implement equal work for equal pay laws for women to be paid equally, because right now they make 66 cents on the dollar to what a man makes. And quite frankly, and to seriously be honest with you, I think that we just need government that's going to do for the people and not do to the people.
Yeah, and that's one of our big things, is bridging the gap, because, you know, with our generation, you know how we feel when it comes to voting.
Yeah.
We have this stigma on voting, like my vote don't count. What has government done for me? We don't even know. I go around the neighborhood and I ask people, like, do you even know who in city council? Do you know, like, the people running the city? And people don't have an answer for that, and that's a big problem. That's a big issue. And with us, we're so disengaged with politics because politics is not engaged with the people. And that's something that we're big on, making sure that it's something different within this next go around. That's why we support you so heavily. You know what I mean? We need to make sure, and all the candidates that we do have, one thing, you know, people like or don't like them, these people are connected to the people, and they connected to the community, and we know that for sure. So the thing is how do you plan on building a better relationship with the community, opposed to they just not seeing Mayor Coleman Young, you know, every now and then on TV, every now and then? How do you feel on bridging that gap? Because even though with the guy that we have in now, I ain't never seen him in the community. I ain't never seen this guy in the hood. I ain't never seen him engage with the people, the majority of the city that he's supposed to run. So how are we going to change that with this go around with having you in office?
Well, I think what I want to do is actually go to where people are at. You know what I'm saying? That's what we want to do. We want to go out to block clubs. We want to go out to meetings. I just came back from a block party. It was lit. Man, I just came back this Saturday over there off of Grass. I think that's what we really need to do. And we also just need to tell young people that politics determines who gets what and how much of it.
That's right.
And so if you're not involved and you're not active, you're always going to be the ones left out, especially as African American people. So we gotta go out there and we gotta make sure that we get involved and support our own. And right now, I also will talk to them in terms of the issues that affect them. You know, the fact of the matter is, right now you have people who stayed here all their life, who choose to stay here, and they're being gentrified out. You know what I mean? You got folks who stayed here through good times and through bad times. And now we're supposedly going through an upswing, and all the people that stayed here are now being wiped out. And we all know the history of Detroit. I mean, we all know what Detroit is. You know what I'm saying? I mean, this is the place where, this is the home of Rosa Parks, who sat down so a movement can stand up. The place where Martin Luther King first gave his I Have a Dream speech. The place where Malcolm X gave his message to the grassroots. This place of Kid Cockrell and the League of Revolutionaries, of Joanna Watson and the Uhuru, of General Baker and the Dodge Revolutionary Union Movement, of Grace Boggs, you know what I'm saying? Right here in the city of Detroit, with all that struggle, all that sacrifice, all that blood, sweat, and tears and toil that was shed for black people to have it whole. And now we in 2017, and we gonna give this up to Mike Duggan, who colludes and bid rigs contracts? Why? You know, and so I think that's why I'm running. Because I think that we should be doing more for the people who chose to stay, not just the people who want to come back here and gentrify people out.
We're with our endorsed candidate for city clerk,
D.Etta Wilcoxon.
Ms. Wilcoxon. What is a major key factor that you are going to be focusing on for this 2017 tremendous, phenomenal election?
We have so many problems in the office of city clerk. The first thing that I want to do, if I'm fortunate enough to become the city's next clerk, is to conduct an intensive audit of the office of city clerk. The current clerk is of the opinion that staff is responsible for all of the problems in the city clerk's office. I want to make certain that that is in fact the case, because in my estimation, real leaders really lead. They don't follow, they lead. So if the problem is with staff, then the leader needs to figure out what the problems are and then address those problems so that your staff buys into being part of a cohesive unit. She says that her staff is an aging staff, and as a result of that, it is not comfortable with technology. What I'd like to do is to marry our younger generations, our millennials, with our senior citizens. Our senior citizens, whether they're technologically advanced or not, bring a lot to the table. They bring work ethic. They know how to tell people to stay away from office politics. They know how to sit down and figure out systems that they've been working with for years. Young people, on the other hand, are technologically advanced, and they can teach seniors how to become technologically advanced. And that's certainly not to say that all seniors are not technologically advanced. I believe that when people offer themselves up for service to the city of Detroit, there should be a welcoming voice in the city clerk's office saying, come, offer yourself up. What is it that you can do to make our city better? Not closing the office of city clerk off from the residents. The problems are massive, but I want to know what they are. I want to draw my own conclusions. Once I draw those conclusions through an audit, then we'll be working to see what it is we can do to fix them.
Sam says still waiting for years. Well, I'm older. I'm like with the leadership staff.
We here today with Mary Waters. She's a candidate for at-large city council, and this is a very important position. And it's even more important when we talk about politicians actually working for the people and getting in office and serving the people that they vow, during election time, that they vow to, stand by and do right by. It's important that we get candidates in office that's going to actually do these things and make sure that, the business of the majority of the people in the city is taken care of.
That's right.
And I know you have a lot of things that you have planned for the city of Detroit. That's why you're on our slate. You're such a powerful candidate. You're such a truthful candidate. And you really do have a heart for the people. And that was one of our biggest reasons for putting you on our slate, because we trust and believe in you. So we just want the people to kind of have a feel and understand of what we are already.
Okay, all right. Well, and I'm just honored to be on New Era Slate. I've got millenniums, young people out working hard to help educate the public and about public service, you see. And so I decided to run for city council so that city council would no longer be a rubber stamp for the rich billionaires, Donald Trump, while they ignore the majority of Detroit, while they ignore single mothers who are raising their children, while they ignore grandparents who are raising their children, while they ignore our neighborhoods. These kind of things that are happening. Our neighborhoods, if you sometimes drive through the city, you see what's happening with all of the abandoned houses and those kinds of things. It makes no sense. The first thing we've got to do is to make sure that the homes are boarded up properly. I mean, it's time out for using the cheap materials. Why do we have to use all the cheap stuff here in the city of Detroit? We got to make sure that people are not able to get into those homes and vandalize them. That's number one. But guess what? My biggest thing that I want to do, we're going to hold the banks accountable too. See, the banks are creating eyesores in our communities. They throw people out of their homes. They do. And then they just let the house sit there. They don't go by, they don't cut the grass, they don't board it up properly. We have to make sure that it's mandatory that they board those homes up. I mean, really, really secure those homes with the proper material, even paying a little bit more for it, and we need to mandate that. There's absolutely no excuse for it.
And I agree, because I know that one of the biggest issues that I have with abandoned houses is the easy access for crime.
Yes.
And we have all our babies, they walk to and from school.
Yes.
And even with a lot of these missing people, they find some of these people in these abandoned houses that's not secure. Some of the rapes that done happen in some of these abandoned houses that are not secure. So it's extremely important that we do it. If you go to the suburbs, they won't allow just houses to look all crazy within their communities. So it has to be a certain level of accountability for whoever owns these properties to make sure that they're boarded up properly. And there's absolutely no excuse for any bank-owned property not to be boarded up and secured in the correct way. So I completely agree.
That's right. And the city of Detroit should take advantage of those things that are available to them. Public Acts 185 through 192 of 2013, state law, state public acts, really addresses a whole blight issue too. And it says you can ticket them a number of times, and then after so many times, you can foreclose on their property. We need to take advantage of that. We need to make sure that happens. And if it's the banks take the property, they're not taking care of it anyway. If you have somebody who lives next door to the property, give them first dibs at it, right? If they're taking care of the property, if they go next door and they're cutting the grass to protect their family, then we need to make sure when we foreclose on that property that we turn it over to the people next door who's been taking care of it.
That's right. That's extremely important. So I'm glad that that's something that you planned on getting in there and taking care of that, because that's been a big issue within our communities really ever since the collapse, when everybody started losing their homes. So, we have more and more vacant homes. You got to remember Detroit was a city that once held like close to 2 million people or somewhere around there.
Yes.
And for where our numbers to be right now, you can only imagine how many vacant houses We're somewhere around a little under 700,000 or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
So you can imagine how many vacant houses within the city of Detroit. And all of these houses are not bad houses, but they become bad because they're not kept up and they're not properly preserved.
They're not properly,
So that's huge when it comes to our communities and making sure that the look of our communities is upheld to a certain standard.
Right, and we need to develop a system where as soon as a home becomes vacant, we go in right away and secure it.
Absolutely.
Make sure that nobody can break into it, vandalize it, make sure that nobody can get in there, take bodies and dump them in there, because these are the kinds of things that are happening. Why in the world can't we do it here in the city? Other communities do it.
Yes, they do.
Why is it that we're always last? Why is it that our taxpayer dollars go to help billionaires who don't need the money, right? We can be using those dollars. There's so many things we need to use those dollars for, and we're just rubber stamping things as they come across the table. It breaks my heart when I ride through the communities, when I think about the single mothers who need the proper training and stuff so that they can properly take care of their children. Skillman Foundation did a study, and they said 84% of the children here in the city of Detroit live in poverty. Why aren't we creating programs so that we can make sure that we give people the proper training to help lift them up? You see, if we can do that, we can really help people get jobs, and they can contribute as well and be able to lift their families out of poverty. It makes no sense. We're doing the wrong thing with the tax dollars. It is shameful.
Peace and love, everybody. Mike Kara from New Era Detroit out here today to talk to write-in candidate for District 1's Detroit City Council, James Eberhart Jr., to get an idea of what he's going to do to bring change to the heart of the city and see what we can expect when he gets the seat in City Council District 1.
Running as a write-in is real tough. It's one of the hardest things because really a write-in candidate only gets 1% of the vote of the people, because usually the voters are already programmed of traditional voting, going to the polls, seeing somebody's name, even if they don't know the person at all, they just like the sound of the name, or the name resonates with something and they vote for that person. So it is real hard running in as a write-in candidate, not just only in the city of Detroit, but nationally around. So me running in as a write-in candidate, hopefully it's going to change some dynamics. It's gonna bring awareness to a lot of different things inside our community, and set a stance and a tone, not just in Detroit, but on a national scale, with obtaining a position in the city council as a write-in candidate.
So tell us about your platform. What kind of things are you going to bring to the city? What kind of changes can we expect if you are elected, or when you get this seat on the city council?
Okay, yeah, let's say when I get the seat, because we speak things truth to power into existence, as we always. With me, with my platform, the main thing is youth development. A lot of generations are always talking about the youth and talking about the future, but they don't want to do anything for the youth of the future. They don't want to give them no opportunities and different resources to progressively move forward. So bringing recreation centers back into the community, bringing the resources, opportunity, especially investor classes and entrepreneur classes for the youth, to get their mindsets to start obtaining ownership of something inside them, inside their communities. A lot of our communities we don't have any ownership of our community, little to none ownership inside our communities. We already living in a 80% black community, but no ownership inside the community of the residents. So now we're renting homes and different things like that inside our community. So with doing that with the youth development, it'll bring up the low income housing. It'll bring that up for housing. It also will bring down crime, because you have the youth and you have different, not even just the youth with crime, but you have other people also investing into entrepreneurship and businesses. So now you really don't have no time to do anything with an idle mind, because you're always out here trying to progressively move your business forward. New Era Detroit, this is what we have been doing. This is a platform. These are platforms that already have been presented, not just to Detroit, but also in Chicago, also in Birmingham, also in Atlanta, and Cleveland, Ohio. So these same programs that I'm speaking on as my platform is the same programs that we already have been developing self-sustainably just from our resources. Today we're here with City Council candidate, District 2 Nguvu Tsare, a write-in candidate for this upcoming election for 2017 in Detroit. Introduce yourself, Nguvu, and let the people know what you represent and what you're, why you're running for city council this year.
Well, like Brother James Eberhart said, my name is Nguvu Tsare. I'm a write-in candidate for Detroit City Council District 2, and I am so proud and humbled to have the endorsement of New Era Detroit. It's one of the premier organizations doing some of the most profound grassroots work in the city, in the country, and I'm honored to have their support. I decided to run in this race, James, because I honestly felt that there was not going to be anybody running in District 2 that was speaking to the issues that I was hearing my neighbors and small business owners talking about, right? Such as providing out-of-the-box ways to decrease crime, increase economic opportunity, strengthen our public services. These are things that, residents in my neighborhood care about, and I care about too. And so, even though I had never had a desire to run for public office, I felt, as a lifelong activist, that it was important for me to get into this race and force the dialogue to center around real life issues that are impacting us, not just macro issues, but micro issues. Let's talk about how we make Davison Freeway safer. Let's talk about how we strengthen all of our business districts that are not as prominent as the Avenue of Fashion. Let's talk about how District 2 has a unique situation where we have a really stark scenario of the haves and have-nots, where you have one neighborhood which is probably the wealthiest neighborhood in the city, but then you have 2 miles down the street, one of the poorest neighborhoods in the city. Let's talk about how we shift that imbalance. So I decided to get in the race because of that reason, and I think that we've been doing better than anybody ever expected we would. One thing that I've committed to, if elected, once elected, is making sure that on at least a quarterly basis, my office is sending information to each and every single address in my district, letting them know about the services that the city is offering, letting them know about anything that's happened in the recent, during recent times at City Hall, and making sure that they have the necessary information to live the most productive, high-quality lives possible. And so, if we can find it in our budget to, give tax breaks to millionaires and billionaires and corporations, I think we can find it somewhere in the budget to make sure that we pay to send everybody all the necessary information. In Detroit, a lot of our elders still don't have computers. A lot of them don't have phones, right? Some of them don't even have TV. So how are they getting the necessary information? The best way for them to know what's happening in our city is if we, as political leadership, put that information right there in their mailbox so that they have the tools necessary to live the lives that they want to live.
Could you touch bases on the $1 One Dream initiative? Because I want you to touch bases on that due to the fact that you speak about economics and knowing that entrepreneurs, in order to thrive and sustain a community, you need to have entrepreneurs, but you need to have local business owners. Mm-hmm. And with being a local business owner, we need to practice group economics.
Absolutely. I mean, well, just to start, to anyone who's going to watch, our conversation, it's important that they keep in mind, when you go into that booth to make your vote, part of your calculation should be, what has this person done in the past to indicate to me what they're going to do in the future. And one of the biggest tenets of my campaign is my commitment to small business owners. And that's because my entire life has been dedicated to trying to empower small businesses. For example, as Director of Development for New Era Detroit, I was a part of a movement that galvanized hundreds and hundreds of Detroiters to support small black businesses in our city through our Cash Mile Buy Black tour. That was a program where, we galvanize our members and our supporters on a weekly basis, and we flood these black businesses with our dollars. And we do that because the #1 employer of African Americans in this country are small black businesses. My district is 94% African American. The city of Detroit is 80% African American. And so if you're talking about economic growth, you can't talk about economic growth without talking about small black businesses, not in the blackest city in America, right? And so my track record shows my commitment to small businesses. And so with that type of spirit, I developed the $1 One Dream Initiative. And that's a program that our small businesses in District 2 can opt into and let their customers add $1 to their purchase. That dollar will go into a District 2 account, and on an annual basis, community leaders in our district will siphon that money to help people purchase their first home, start their first business if they're ready to start a business, and help our current businesses undergo renovation projects to either increase business or scale. And so what that does is a couple things. It tackles crime, because we're filling vacant homes in our district, which puts more bodies on the street, which acts as a deterrent to crime, and it increases property value, which helps decrease crime. The second thing that it's doing is it's creating jobs, right? It's helping entrepreneurs who don't have the capital on their own or within their own personal network to start their own business, and it's helping those people who have already been committed to District 2 get the help that they need. And so I genuinely believe that the culture of our city should be one that prioritizes giving tax breaks to our small businesses rather than giving tax breaks to millionaires and billionaires who don't care about this city. They look at this city in terms of what it can do for them financially. And so I'm not against big businesses or corporations, but if we're gonna talk about who we as a city prioritize, I believe that we need to be prioritizing our hardworking small business owners. And so that's what the $1 One Dream Initiative does. And I believe that it could really be powerful and really create a blueprint for the other districts in the city to follow.
Hey, I'm Dennis Green. Y'all know me. I'm on Facebook. I got a Facebook page. I'm going door to door talking to my people. I'm out here showing support for my candidate, Ms. Johnson, for the 4th district. Got my brother for the 1st. I got from the 3rd district. Don't believe the hype that we can't win. We're about the people. We for the people. We by the people. Don't forget, Dennis Green, 3rd district.
Let's see you, man. Oh, man.
My long labor, man.
Boy,
I'm on the
might
ballot,
see
man.
you right now.
I know, Mom. Yeah, if my parents was in heaven right now, they see it. I'm on the ballot, man.
Baby.
All right,
Oh, you on the ballot?
I'm on the ballot, 3rd district, man. That's a good friend of mine. This is one of my Fairbank alumni over here.
East Side?
All power to the people.
All power to the people.
All power to the people.
We walking through the city right now. We in Sister Latisha district, and we just want to make sure that people understand that we for real about getting involved politically this year. We for real about not letting it be just politics as usual. We are serious about making change and bridging the gap between the people and politics. So that's what this is. Making sure that we got the right candidates in, we make sure that we do the right things for our community. And we got this good sister out here. We in your district. Just let the people know a little bit, what do you plan on doing for them that's different than the incumbent that's in right now and the people that's running? What makes you stick out? What makes you so different?
So I've been supporting our people for the last 10 years, empowering our people and improving our communities. That's what I plan to continue doing, making sure that our residents have access to grant dollars to be able to stay in their homes, because people are trying to displace them intentionally, and that's not something that I like to see. So I think they need the support of City Hall to make sure that they can stay here and stop being displaced. That's one of my core focuses. Another thing is improving our commercial corridors, making sure that people have somewhere to go, to walk, to shop, to eat, to do whatever they need to do in their community. So it's all about empowering our people and improving our community.
That's right, that's right. All power to the people. Make sure that y'all get out, vote or gentrify. Make sure that y'all vote anybody that's in District
4.
Make sure to get out and vote for
Latisha Johnson.
That's right. All power to the people.
This lady right here, Latisha Johnson, she's running in your district, and she better than that incumbent.
Out here.
Better than
She's out here.
this is New Era Detroit Slate. So we're asking that you support all of the candidates and they support, of course, their endorsement deal. So I'd love to have your support. Okay? You look like you have a question. Okay.
I don't want to, you know, it's about time we get some of our folks in there.
Absolutely. Some of our folks that are going to take care of us.
Yeah, right,
Yeah,
right. You know, I don't everybody talk a good game.
That's right.
You know, but then when it comes down to the party, don't nobody want to be there to clean up.
They forget about it.
Yeah. They take it and run.
So we have to stop that. And that's what the New Era Slate is all about.
Don't be shucking and jiving, man, because just as soon as you got in there, you just get it back, get right back out of there.
Let me tell you, I'm a full-time volunteer, thanks to my husband. And so I'm doing it because I feel like I'm led to do it by God. And I have the passion. I've been working to empower our people and really help to improve our communities.
Sometimes it hurts, man.
I'm okay with that.
I understand, all right.
I'm okay with the
but
challenge.
I've been there myself.
Yeah. I'm okay with the challenge.
Sometimes it hurts, you know.
Yeah.
People let you down.
Oh, I know. They have been for a while.
And make you feel real bad about yourself and everybody else.
And that's why we're going through this gentrification that we're going through now. So we need to stop it. We need to stop the displacement and make sure that we're taking care of our people that are rooted in this community, that are rooted in the city, that have maintained it thus far. But so many things are happening where, you know, they focus on spending money downtown, giving it to the billionaires.
First of all,
we got to get our people
out people.
Exactly, and that's what we're here for. We're talking about unify. But you know what? The other thing is that we have to unify our people. We may come out to vote, but we're all spread. Some people voting for this person, that person, but if we're not coming together and supporting the right people.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true. We got too many slates. Everybody got a slate.
Everybody has a slate.
Right, and then white folks get in, because their numbers is all together.
Our
numbers is all separated.
Look,
I already know the game, baby. I done been there.
Look, we see that there are people that look like us that are in the position, but they're not taking care of us.
Well, you know what that is.
Yeah.
You already know what that is.
Absolutely.
You know?
So it's time to change it. We have to step up, we have to stand together and make a change. We have to make our voices heard, but we have to unify.
Well, I'm with you. My name's Carlos Park. I stand on the drive. I'm with you.
I appreciate it.
My alley looks like this. So I'm the mayor over there.
Okay.
I got my alley is cut off. About 5 houses, I'm the mayor.
You take care of everything.
Nobody come back there. Dog come out there now. Go out there and pick it up.
Well, we appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, we doing what we can for the city. Doing what we can for the city. Because this is the only city we got.
That's right. And I look forward to supporting you and your efforts when I become the city council member.
I'm going to call you.
All right?
I'm going to call you. We're going to, excuse me, Lord.
That's okay. We got to keep doing the work. Go ahead. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
All
right.
Family, this is the Vote Or Gentrify movement. We're here with Councilwoman Mary Sheffield over here, District 5.
District 5.
Give them a brief overview. With you actually being the youngest city council member on council right now and in Detroit history,
yes,
correct?
sir. Yes, sir.
All right, give them a little brief overview. What motivated you and inspired you to run for city council?
Man, I've always been involved in the community in the city of Detroit. I mean, I come from a background of public service, over 80 years of public service in the city of Detroit, and I think it was just a defining moment in the history of Detroit. I think we needed young leadership. I really wanted to be the change that I believe that we needed in Detroit. I'm tired of politics, politicians, the old things that we continue to see in the city, and I wanted to be something different. So, city council by district was the first time in 2013, and it gave me an opportunity as a young person to really get my foot in the door and be that change that I wanted to see.
With being the youngest representative of city council, what is some of the? I know you get a lot of backlash with being very young on the board, and it's some good things.
Yeah.
How do you face those struggles with being the youngest? You know, because these are big decisions.
I always try to say, let my work speak for itself. You know, let what I do in the community speak for itself. I always just try to keep age out of it. I'm happy to be the youngest person, but at the end of the day, it's about what impact do I leave on the residents in my district. How have I been able to motivate people? How have I been able to encourage people that are going to follow behind me? And so I love that I'm young. I love that I can relate to young people. But at the end of the day, it's about the work that I do on council and the legacy that I leave after I leave council.
How you doing, Quinn? Anything that you would like to say about Councilwoman Mary Sheffield?
No, I have to give her props. It was because of the the home repair program. That program. It was because of her that I went to that program, and this was the result. I received over $40,000 in grant.
Wow.
For improvements to this home.
Wow.
So,
yes.
You know, she was a blessing. It hadn't been for her, it wouldn't have gotten done.
That's what's up.
So.
Let me give you some information on. As you know, those programs they're not trying to keep those programs around. So we are doing the Vote Or Gentrify movement for programs like that. And we are endorsing Mary Sheffield because of her work. She's actually, to us, the only city council member that's in seat right now that has been doing things for the community. So just like that information, you need to let people know, that same information. Because that is very important, because our homes are getting taken away from us tremendous right before our eyes. And without programs like that and procedures and different things like that, and people in those positions to be fighting for programs like that, that we need inside our communities, then if we don't do anything this election, those programs will be gone. And it is. We continue to need this. We're going to need repairs again, probably on your portion in a couple years. So we're going to continue to need programs and more developed programs just off of that platform to develop them in the future also. So make sure that you get out here and vote.
She's engaged.
All right.
Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Can I just say that when I got to council, there was $6 million in a pot for traditional home repair for low-income people, for seniors and disabled. That was proposed to be cut to $0. If I had not advocated each year, there would be no money right now in the pot for home repair grants for our seniors and low-income people. The only program that would be available is this 0% interest loan program where our people can't qualify. They don't have the credit scores. And if you could look at the history of it, you put the demographics, our people, and when I say our, I mean just low-income African Americans, people who have been in this city 30, 40 years, don't qualify for the program. Okay. And so that program will not even be around.
So those are many things that you wanted and have fought for to stay inside the city of Detroit.
Yep.
With us being a poverty line city, a tremendous poverty line city, not just in Michigan but across the nation.
Yep.
Joanna Underwood, District 7 City Council candidate. Ms. Underwood, what encouraged you to, take up this tremendous, phenomenal position, for the community in the city of Detroit?
Well, the reason why I'm running for District 7, so we can have proper representation on the west side, the northwest side of Detroit. We haven't had proper representation for quite some time in District 7, and the northwest side of Detroit has been neglected for a long time. And now that we are council by district, I think it's very important that people from the neighborhood start to participate in the city council decisions, because we cannot continue to allow outsiders to come in and represent for us.
Give the people a brief background of what you've been doing inside the community, your history of your residency here inside the city of Detroit.
I was born and raised on the northwest side of Detroit, known today as District 7. And this area is close to my heart. My family owned a property over here for 50 years. I went to the McKenzie High School, all the neighborhood schools over here. I started my activism career over here as well, advocating for rape victims, fighting for rape kits to be tested. So I have a long history of activism work over here, as well as being a resident over in the city, northwest side of Detroit. And actually I own a house over here on Plymouth and Auburn Street for 5 years. So I'm definitely very aware of what's needed to be done in this district. So that's one of the reasons why I'm running for city council.
With your platform and what you want to do, Will, what you're gonna do when you get inside office, and we speak that into existence.
Right.
With the development of the youth, as we all say, the youth is our future. What is your ideas and your plans to develop and move the youth forward?
Well, I definitely believe that we have to start reducing the poverty level of children in the city of Detroit, and especially in District 7. And we have to create opportunities and recreation for the children. So this is one of the reasons why I'm glad we shoot there for Rouge Park. Rouge Park is a jewel of the northwest side of Detroit, and I want to redevelop Rouge Park. This playground equipment is old, outdated. It's the same playground equipment that we had when I was coming up. And so we definitely need to improve the playground equipment. We also need to capitalize off of the history of the park. We have the Buffalo Soldier Ranch is on northwest side of Detroit, and that is a ranch that's dedicated to the soldiers that fought in the Civil War. And I think that we need to have reenactment, horseback riding, and basically just capitalize off of that great history and make sure it's an attraction. We also have a world-class golf course. A lot of people don't even know. Golfers from all across the world will golf at that golf course. We need to look like that. So I'm definitely for the beautification of Rouge Park and also enforcing some of the city ordinances on the Rouge Park to make it more safe and family-oriented.
Another question that I had, and I hear from the people that I want to make sure that we get clear, and this is the majority of 18 to 35-year-olds. And once again, we're focused on making sure that the 18 to 35-year-old make sure that they come out and vote.
I'm 34, so I'm in that bracket.
There we go.
I'm in that bracket.
So we got to make sure, that's why we have our movement, Vote Or Gentrify. If you remember back when Barack was running, they had Vote or Die. They had the Vote or Die movement. And Vote or Die, that's big. That's saying like, we got to vote or it's extreme measures that's going to be taken. So Vote or Gentrify, a lot of people look at that as similar. Vote or Gentrify. Gentrify is a big word. And we just kind of touched on some of the issues when we're dealing with gentrification.
Yeah.
But the future of this city, so the 18 to 35, the people who's going to have stake in this city once the elders move on, what are we planning to do for the future of the day-to-day people, the people that's in the hood and the people that's in the community who want opportunity? Because we hear all the time that all these young black men, they not out here working, they can't get a job because they're smoking weed. That's not the case. That's something that people like to use to discredit young black men out here trying.
And it's dangerous too, because it just says I ain't got to go out here and even try to help anybody because they all drug addicts and unqualified.
That's not the case. I can tell you that's not the case. It's a lot of young black men and women out here that really want to do better for themselves, and the opportunity is not presenting itself here in the city of Detroit, because we know where most of the new jobs are going. They're going to young middle class or middle class white folks who are moving into the city of Detroit. That's where all these new jobs are going, where people are talking about that's being developed in the city of Detroit, and they like to throw that like, oh yeah, we're getting jobs. No, the people in the city, the majority of people in the city is not getting jobs. So how are we going to kind of change the culture to put money in people's pockets in the city of Detroit?
Well, I think one of the first things that we need to do is, one, I think we need to have community benefits agreements. There should be no job in this city where Detroiters don't get access to it first. And as mayor, that's what's going to happen. One, I think we should have community benefits agreements, so that's legally binding agreements that says that if you don't hire Detroiters, you can be sued for it. I think that's the first thing that we can do. I think also we should have assistant district councils. I think that's something that's important, so people have more of a say so the development that goes on is land. Also, quite frankly, though, I just think we need a leader that's going to make that a priority. When my father was mayor, it didn't matter what you was doing. If you wasn't hiring Detroiters, you wasn't coming in here.
Period.
And he was well known for shutting down projects, did not hire Detroiters. And we're going to do the same thing. Because there's too many people that are out here that are hurt, too many people that are out here that are starving. And that's what I'm doing this for. You know, I'm doing this for the woman that's in her house and just had her water shut off and can't tell anybody because if she does, Child Protective Services is gonna come and take her kids. I'm doing this for the person who's facing foreclosure for $50. You know, I'm doing this for the child that gotta walk 3 miles on average just to get to school. You know what I'm saying? That's what we're doing this for, man, because we want to make it a better place for them and our families. And it starts with jobs. There is no problem in this city that a good paying job can't fix.
That's right, that's right. And I believe that too, you know, and with jobs,
hey! How you doing, gorgeous?
See, that's the love that we need within our community, you know what I mean? You'll never see that.
They would never gentrify too.
You'll never see Mike Duggan ride through the hood and get no love like that for sure. But you know, we was talking about jobs, we was talking about being able to develop jobs. What's attached to that is business owners within the city of Detroit. So now we have black business owners who have a hard time developing and creating their own business.
Yeah.
And getting in the mix because we know that the #1 employer of black people is black people. So if we're not creating opportunities for black business owners within the city of Detroit, which is a predominantly black city, see, we're not trying to make this thing a black and white thing. We're just stating facts. You know what I mean? So we talking about
a right and wrong thing.
A right and wrong thing. So we talking about a city that's predominantly black, close to 80% African Americans in the city of Detroit. Yet our businesses within our community don't reflect the residents and the people who live inside of the city. So what are some things that we can do to help? Because I know a lot of black business owners that's just not there yet. You know, Detroit, we talking about Detroit. We talking about home of the hustlers and creators and the individuals that's innovators. There we go. So it's not a lack of people with ideas and good business ideas to get out within the community. It's just a lack of resources so that these businesses are developed and they're able to really prosper within the city. So what are some things to help black business owners kind of grow, develop, and prosper that you have on your plate?
Well, listen, I know the first thing I want to do is I want to have one-stop permitting shops. I think that's something that's important so everybody can get their permits in one area. Another thing I want to do is look at reducing regulations and the cost of doing business. I think that's something that's hurting a lot of black folks. I also want to make sure that we have, you know, small business development centers as well as incubation centers to make sure that we have people be able to start their own business, help them get a business plan and things of that nature. But primarily as mayor, I'm going to make it a priority to make sure that we hire African American businesses. That we make sure that black folks get jobs and get opportunities and get money. I think that's something that's very important. That just comes down to priority. I mean, again, I can tell you about all the different policies that I want to do in order to really help small businesses be able to get started, how I want to work more with the Small Business Administration. I want to make sure demand from them on the federal level that African Americans get loans. How I think that we also need to make sure that we have more community development corporations so they can also draw down money, and community development financial institutions so they can also be able to get money and draw down money from the federal and state government. Black business can be able to get started and really work on also making sure that for minority disadvantaged enterprise that the state, you know, adheres to what they're supposed to do as well. But I know from our perspective as a city in terms of contracts, we're going to make sure that we give people an opportunity. But right now, it's clearly not.
Okay, so it sounds like you're very passionate about this. We all kind of know about your well-known incident with the DPD that happened during one of our community outreach and engagement programs during the Hood to Hood, where you actually went and beat the felony charges that they tried to falsely bring to you. So would you say that was the jump off to kind of your passion and wanting to do some real change as far as city council goes?
When I encountered that tragic event, it was a whole whirlwind of my life. You know, with me being in school at Wayne County, studying mental health and African American psychology, those things erupted. You know, that's like allegations, some tremendous allegations. You know, while you trying to, you know, go to school inside and build the community up. This was on the news. You know, this was a big thing inside our community. And being falsely accused of these, and you know, the plea deal that they tried to give me, a 1-for-1. You know, you take one felony, we'll drop the other felony for something I didn't do. You know, it drove me to really stand up for my people, not just for my people, and not just for myself, but the future. You know, because if I would have took that plea deal, I would have just been another black male, a statistic inside our community, taking a plea deal. So that drove me to understand that we have to change policy. And if we don't get into the offices and hold people accountable to change these policies and hold people accountable to get the proper police training inside our communities, where we have the worst police training inside the nation right here in Detroit. With being 80% black, it's very important that our policing is for the community, the people that looks like the community. It can't be systematical policing strategies inside our communities when we already know the history of that organization that was founded. You know, so knowing that, we have to get inside these offices and change the proper policies to resonate and go with the population of the community.
You know, it's extreme come together within the community. Vote Or Gentrify is very serious.
Yes, it is.
You know, the things that they're doing within the city, to give to people who's coming in the city, and to take away from people who's been here and lived through the good times and the bad times, some of the worst times in Detroit, and stuck through. You know, some of these times and the treatment that these people are getting is completely unacceptable. So we're fighting hard against gentrification. What's your views on gentrification and the things that's going on within the city?
Oh, you know it's happening all around the city, right? It is happening, absolutely. I'm with you. We're 100% when it comes to gentrification, and we must do everything possible to stop it. We've got to do that. People have been here, like you said, stuck it out, and you have small businesses that have been here, stuck it out. What in the world? Now we're pushing people out. I mean, it is by design. I know that it's by design. All these little things that are being put in place to force people out of this city. We're just not going to tolerate it. We've got to have somebody standing strong to be a voice for the people. And I intend to do that. I won't back down. You know, I won't back down. Absolutely
that's
not.
why you're on our slate, sister. Because we believe in you and we know the things that you will accomplish once you get in that office. We have 110% belief that you will be sitting in that office come the end of this 2017 election. We stand behind you and we support you. And we're gonna be right out here with you.
That's right. I would say don't leave me. I want you to be right there with me when I go there to serve on behalf of the people, because that's going to be important. You guys are going to help me, my eyes and ears, and since I can't be everywhere, you're going to say, hey Mary, this is what we need. This is what we need you to do. I want you there with me every step of the way. I'm talking about together we can make all of this happen.
That's right, and that's so important, bridging that gap between you know, the politicians and the people who sit in the office with the community and the mud roots organizations, as we like to call ourselves, people that's out here actually, you know, beating the grounds every single day. There needs to be a better relationship, and that type of relationship just is not forming, you know, within the government that we have in place right now, because they don't really want that relationship to take place, because they already have their mind made up on what they want for the city, the things that they want to do for the city, and they're not trying to hear from people who've been out here in the community, has lived out here in the community, and hear their voice on the things that they actually want and the things that they feel strongly about and want done.
And I'm so glad you said that, because I strongly believe that. I don't want people, those of us who sit downtown, to make all the decisions about what's needed for the communities. Why in the world don't we ask them? They live there. I believe very, very strongly that we need to find better ways of empowering the people. They know best, and that's the truth. And I said that to, for example, planning and development some years ago. I said, why in the world are you coming to the community with all of these plans that you've created? They have a plan of their own. They live here. Let's use their plan. They know what's best for the community. Those are the kind of things I want to see happen. The power back to the people. And I mean it in the real sense. You know, it's not just words. I mean it. And I'm going to try and identify every way that I possibly can to help make sure that happens. Because that's where we've lost it. We've just lost it. There's no relationship between those who represent the community and those who actually live in the community. There's a disconnect, and we've got to change that.
So with state a little bit more. So this is not your first time running inside this position as city clerk inside the city of Detroit.
No, it isn't, and that's an interesting point. I ran against the incumbent clerk in a head-to-head matchup in the general election in the last election cycle. If you have an unscrupulous person counting the ballots, they will never lose. According to the incumbent clerk, our candidacy garnered about 36,000 votes, even with her counting the ballots. So we are of the opinion that the residents of the city of Detroit love us. It's 144 square miles. We've covered all 144 square miles any number of times, both when I was on the ballot and when I was not on the ballot. What the residents of the city of Detroit know about me is that I am a fighter for them. They know that I have been in the trenches whether I've been on the ballot or not. When I helped to restore Congressman Conyers to the ballot, I was not on the ballot. And I'm not afraid to stand up to the powers that be. And luckily, I can say that we have a lot of victories under our belt. We have a lot of W's in the win column. So the residents of the city of Detroit know that in electing me to be their official city clerk, that they're going to get much of what they've already gotten. I'm not a Johnny-come-lately to this game. I'm not going to beat my chest and tell you I was a big, bad firefighter, and that's all I have to say for myself. I have been all around the country fighting voter suppression. Where were they the 12 years that we fought voter suppression in this town under this current clerk's reign? Where were they? We own the history. Team Wilcoxon owns the history in terms of fighting for this town. Now the other states, other cities across the country, we didn't fight for them. We were too busy focusing our efforts and our attention on the needs of the residents of the city of Detroit.
You brought up a great outline topic of voter suppression inside Detroit, and that is tremendous, dealing with last year presidential election and local election with community benefit agreements and different things like that. And with 60% of our votes being suppressed, what is a way to be that being resolved inside of our community? Because if votes continue to be suppressed inside our community, there would never be a fair election or a fair political front for the blackest city in America, a major infrastructure inside America, a major city of American history, if we don't fix the voter suppression inside our community.
Unless you have a person with integrity in the office of city clerk, you will continue to get the same thing that you're getting. The reason so few absentee ballots have gone out in this election cycle is that people do not believe in the integrity in the process. They would rather take themselves to the polls rather than send in an AV ballot and think that it's not going to be counted. So what we are seeing is a manifestation of raw feelings of Detroiters indicating that they do not trust the current administration and they want a change. Now, until we get that change, we're going to get exactly what we've been getting. And as a result of them being selected, people have absolutely no faith in this process. So the fix for this problem is to take the problem out by the root. And the only way you do that is to take out the current city clerk. And that's why I'm offering myself up to the residents of the city of Detroit, because we're not going to fix this change without a person of integrity. And I've spent 30 years building my political capital in this town, not in other towns, in this town. So the people in this city know that if they're looking for integrity, I'm their person. They know if they're looking for honesty, I'm their person. They know if they're looking for someone who will fight, who will stand up for them, I'm their person. I don't have to prove myself to the residents of the city of Detroit. I've already done that. So I'm not coming to the residents asking them to take a chance on me. I've been their workhorse for 30 years. They know that when I get in the trenches, I fight to the death. I am their Chinese fighting dog. I'm their chow in the fight. I'm not going to leave them stranded. They already know that. Now, when we look at what's going on right now with Robert Davis and I suing the Pistons and the Illages over Olympia Stadium, a lot of people are trying to cast that narrative so that it says that we don't want development in the city of Detroit. Nothing could be further from the truth. What they don't want to talk about is the fact that the school code requires that Detroiters vote. They go to the polls and vote to determine whether or not they want to repurpose their tax dollars that were intended for a millage that is operating school dollars. If they want to use money for stadium development versus school operating purposes, they have to say that themselves. No one can say that for them. So I'm in this fight. In the words of Coleman Young, is a very good fight. I wouldn't have it any other way. But what people are failing to understand is that the vote in our country is a cornerstone of our democracy. Without the right to vote, our democracy fails.
Good thing also that I want to touch on, because they think this is a lot of city council position also. But right now inside your community, we see a lot of blight inside our community. Now, being with the city council, what is your position on blight and getting the blight torn down, or homes boarded inside your district? What is your position on
So my position is that we need to continue to hold the Department of Neighborhoods, our mayor's office, and the Detroit Land Bank accountable for making sure that they're monitoring, that they're boarding up, that they're clearing blight, that they're grass cutting, whatever it may be as far as property maintenance on the properties that they have. Every single time they come to the table, I always make sure that they are setting aside money for maintenance of their properties. If you look around any community that you go to, the land bank owns all these properties. They don't have enough funding to maintain the properties, and that's the number one issue. So I think the hardest hit fund money should be used for that, but I also think it's important, it's equally as important to demolish these homes is to set aside money to keep people in their homes. Hardest hit fund money was originally intended for foreclosure prevention, to keep people in their homes. A lot of that money was used to be reprogrammed for blight and demolition, which I think is good, but we also need to make sure that it's an equal focus to foreclosure prevention as well too.
Okay. With this upcoming election being very crucial for our city, and actually not just our city, but the residents of the city of Detroit, what would you say to the millennial voters out here inside our community with getting involved, and not only getting involved, being proactive inside our community?
Man, we can look around every community all over the city and see the change that's taking place. And we need to be conscious, we need to be woke. I love the hashtag stay woke about what's going on, not only in the city, on the local level, on the federal level, but I think us as young people, it is our time to take on the mantle of leadership in the city. Whatever happens over the next 5 to 10 years, we're going to be the benefactors of that. You know what I'm saying? And so we have to make sure that we're engaged, that we're involved, that we hold people accountable, and that we let our voice be heard. And so I just say that it's a crucial time in the city, and none of us can sit on the sideline. We have to be vocal and active and be proactive in the movement.
So with the development of our community, and it's a big upwind right now with the development of the Pistons Arena. And with you having a vote on that, could you let the people know why did you vote on the development of the Pistons Arena?
Yeah, so I supported it because I looked at it from more of the economic impact that I believe that it was going to have on the city of Detroit. When we talk about the number of jobs that it's going to create, we talk about putting young men and women to work, whether it be service positions and other type of jobs, construction, skilled trades, things of that sort. No one can deny that the increase in revenue that arena is going to bring to the city of Detroit will far outseed $34.5 million. I also think it should be clear that this idea of us taking money away from our children is not true. The $34.5 million based on state law, which is the D.Etta Act, please go look it up, we got to do our research, people, can only be used in that defined area. So any money that is captured in that area, that $34.5 million, because of state law, has to be used in that defined area. So this whole idea about, well, that money could be used in my community or my neighborhood or a home repair or whatever it may be, it's just not true. State law requires that $34.5 million be used back in the defined area. I do think that the concerns of the community were very valid. I do think that, we need to fight for affordable housing and home grants and foreclosure prevention and education. All of those issues I have stood very, very firm on, and I'm going to continue to fight for, but I think they were mixing, and I think some people were mixing apples and oranges with that argument. And So I do believe for the long term in the city of Detroit that the Pistons being here will be a positive. I'm going to continue to have negotiations with the Pistons to make sure that the community truly benefits from that deal.
With a lot of controversy inside of our communities dealing with crime, how would you initiate and reduce crime in a community that has the majority of the highest poverty in the country?
You think that giving DPD the necessary tools to be more present in our community in a non-threatening way, such as our neighborhood police officers, I think is the first thing that I would do. Try to find more money in the budget to put more MPOs in our communities. I noticed that in our more prominent neighborhoods in District 2, they have great relationships with their MPOs. And so I would like to foster a better relationship with some of our more harder hit communities with their police precinct, and with the MPOs in that precinct. That's the first thing. The second thing that I really think could be instrumental in decreasing crime is helping every neighborhood establish a block club. You know, the studies show that the more involved residents are in their neighborhoods, the less likely it is that they're going to be a target of crime. And so, you know, neighborhoods like Green Acres with our resident Jim Ward, you know, have had, you know, community neighborhood patrols for 20, 30, 40 years. But yet you have other neighborhoods, maybe like Pembroke, that haven't had that. And so they suffer as a result. And you can see the difference of a community with the patrol and a community without one. So making sure that all of our neighborhoods have community block clubs would be very instrumental in solving crime. The one thing that you will never hear me say is a solution to crime is criminalizing our young people. And so if we tackle the root causes of crime before it happens, then we don't have to worry about so many of our young people, you know, leading lives that are counterproductive to our communities.
Give a little bit of background on, as we was talking about, it's about the work, you know, and a lot of people go to the polls off of what people say they will do, and not what they have already been doing or have already done. Give the people a background on what you have accomplished and what you have been doing previously before running for a candidacy for city council in Detroit.
Man, I like that question. Thank you. You know, like I said earlier, running for office was never something I ever wanted to do. The reason why I'm running as a write-in candidate is because even though I've lived in District 2 long enough to qualify to be on the ballot, I waited too long to change my voter registration. And so because I changed my voter registration, I believe it was on August 28th of last year, that rendered me ineligible to run in the primary. And so that goes to show you, running for office was the last thing on my mind because I moved to the district in May of last year. And so the reason why I never wanted to run for office is because I preferred to engage in politics from the activist side. And that's basically the work that I've done for my entire life. I'm 28 years old. I grew up in Lansing, Michigan, moved here 10 years ago at the age of 18. Part of why I moved to Detroit was because, well, actually the main reason why I moved to Detroit was because, you know, growing up in a school district outside of Lansing, I had to deal with a lot of racism. I grew up an extreme minority in my community. And all I wanted to do when I graduated high school was be around people who looked like me, who affirmed me, who could give me a safe space to grow as a young black man. And so Detroit gave that to me, and that's why I feel so connected to the city. That's why I feel so responsible for the city's future, because the city gave me something that no other city has given me. And so at my high school as a child, I founded the Black Student Union. My mother would tell you ever since I was a little kid, I always went around with my fist in the air. You know, I was always fighting the good fight for somebody, even if it got me in trouble at school. We founded the Black Student Union. I graduated high school, moved to Detroit, started doing HIV prevention work for young LGBT men of color. And I would like to think that that work has saved a lot of lives. I know that I'm still HIV negative to this day because of the work that I did with that organization. You know, I left Detroit, became a flight attendant for the past 7 years. And I've lived in cities all around the country. When I lived in Chicago, I was a member of President Obama's church, and I was heavily involved with the prison ministry, and we dealt with the issue of mass incarceration. And then I moved to DC, where I became the vice chair of the DC chapter of the National Black United Front. And I moved back home to Detroit in 2015 when I was able to transfer with my company. And I immediately got involved with this great organization called New Era Detroit. And I eventually became the director of development for the organization. You know, the resume of NED is already out there, so everybody knows. If they watching this video, they already rock with NED and know what NED is about. So, since joining NED, I've become one of the executive vice presidents of the 13th Congressional District Democratic Party, and I'm also on the Belle Isle Community Advisory Council. And so all of these different things that I've done over the past 14, 15 years of my life have one thing in common, and that's I never got paid to do a single one of them. And so I've never ever had to get paid to do good for my community. I just do it because it's who I am. I do it because it's what I believe in. It's the right thing to do. And so when people are casting their ballots for Detroit City Council this fall, you know, I hope that they remember that and take that into consideration. Hello, I'm Nguvu. Nice to meet you. Yolanda. Nice to meet you, Yolanda.
Thank you.
Yeah, I hope to have your support this November 7th. You write my name in.
Okay.
You know, I'm running on a platform to decrease crime, increase economic opportunity, and strengthen public services.
Yes,
and do it. Hey, absolutely.
help us, please.
And look, I'm trying to do it in a way that centers you. You know, because a lot of times, you know, these elected officials or the people running to become elected officials, you know, they have these wonderful sound bites to make it seem like they're really going to try to do something to improve our communities, but they don't actually include the people who they're trying to represent.
Right.
And so anything that I do as your council person will include you in how we move forward. And so, you know, you can check out.
I see you on here. Hey.
Yeah, yep. And that's my first and last name. If you type in my first and last name, my website is nguvutsare.com.
Okay.
And you can find me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Okay.
And I'd love to connect with you and build with you. And we'll be coming through your neighborhood soon and canvass and knock on doors, and you'll learn even more about the campaign.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, it was nice to meet you.
You too.
I hope to have your vote this November.
Likewise.
You know, some people say that they don't feel safe in the city of Detroit, and then we talk about the crime rate. A lot of people feel the answer to crime is to bring in more police. I disagree with that. I believe that crime is conducive to your economic environment. So if people are not making money, you know, people don't have income, you know, people gonna find a way to do what they gotta do to feed their kids or to put food on their plate, or, you know, for selfish reasons, whatever it may be. But crime is conducive to your economic environment. So we could take all the black folks in the city of Detroit and put them in an environment that's maybe in the suburbs where everything is good, jobs are being provided, and the crime is you're gonna see the same amount of crime with the suburbs. You can take all the white folks in the suburbs and bring them to the hood and give them the lack of resources and things that we have, and they'll be killing each other too. Crime will be committed too. So it's not so much of a color thing. Once again, it's an environmental thing.
Yeah.
So, you know, when we speak crime, we try to speak
product of your environment.
Yes, as a product of your environment. So what are some things that you may be looking at in terms of crime in the city of Detroit, and to help cut back on things to make sure that people feel just a little bit more safer within their communities and neighborhoods?
Well, listen, I think the first thing we need to do in terms of crime, like you said, there's no problem in this city that get paid job can't fix. That's right. We need to put people to work. That's the first thing we want to do. That's the first thing I want to do, is put our people back to work. Rebuilding our roads, rebuilding our infrastructure, tear down. Hey, how you doing, buddy? Tear down these abandoned buildings and things of that nature. If you talk about in terms of crime in general, what I also think one of the things that we should be doing as well as we should be using our trace data more. I think in terms of these gun crimes, they have something called the National Integration Ballistics Information Network. That's something that on the national level we can use that trace data and be able to trace guns back to who fired it, as well as working with the state to make sure that we have micro-stamping technology. That's where every time a gun is fired, their firing pin puts a stamp on the shell casing, and then we can trace that back to where it was, as well as using more, I think I'll have to go to the federal level of this, probably working with the United States Conference of Mayors and the Police Foundation, but also making sure that we are asking the federal government to allow, use data from the fusion centers that they have, partnering with Homeland Security in order to use that for local crimes, without, interfering with, federal criminal investigations and things of that nature on the terrorist aspect. Those are some of the things that I think that we should be doing, as well as partnering up with our hospitals. Right. Because when you are a victim of a gunshot, you are more than likely to be able to become a perpetrator of a crime next time. Right. So I think we should provide job opportunities and training and things of that nature there, as well as therapy services for PTSD, because a lot of people have that after you get shot because it's a traumatic experience. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So I think these are some of the things that we should be doing, as well as treating violence like a virus. And what I mean by that is basically sending information to the Center of Disease Control to make sure that we can use that data to find the root causes of why these crimes happen, so we can have more data to be able to attack this and be preventative, and take preventative measures to make sure that we can attack the roots of the problem of why we had crime. But I think you knocked it out the park, man. We really need to put people back to work. There's always going to be some people who just want to out there and be criminals and do what they're doing. That's what the correction system is for. But for people who are looking for work, they're really looking to try to make a difference, and really trying to make something for themselves, they just don't have the opportunities. So the opportunities are not available. The jobs are available. The jobs are coming back. The Detroiters aren't getting access to it. It's because we have leadership that's not trying to go out of their way. And we should have a leader who's willing to give the shirt off his back and make sure that people have more. But we just don't have that right now.
Work with New Era Detroit. This is what we do. This ain't make-believe. This real. We want to be proud of the community that we live in. We always been here, and we ain't going nowhere.
That's right. We got Brother Dennis Green here. He's a candidate running for City Council District 3. It's very important that we get the right people in. We continue to say this. He out and about right now. We cleaning up the community. We talking to the people. We saying what the people want. It's not about going and trying to give people something. It's about saying what the people want.
Yeah, that's right.
One thing we do want to ask, man, what's like one thing that you're going to do for the community, the greater community, the 80% of people that's in the city of Detroit? What's the one thing that you plan on turning around in the city, in your district?
The one thing I plan on turning around is taking over our forestry department. There's no way in the world that our community should look like this. This is unkept. We keep preventive maintenance on that. We take over the forestry department. We focus on each section at a time. It ain't gonna cost the city no money to take over the forestry department, reorganize that, put it in the mayor's ear, let them know that these are the things that won't cost the city money. Get DPW under control and our forestry department. It won't cost the city a dime.
That's right, and this is important. I mean, if you can look around, you see the type of communities and the lack of care within our communities. We got all this attention on downtown. We got all this attention on the new Detroit per se. But what about the old Detroit? You know what I mean? What about the old Detroit? What about people who've been living in these communities for years and years and years? What about them? And that's what's been lacking, and that's what we plan on changing with good candidates who care about the people. We got Brother Dennis Green. He out here cleaning up the community. That's right. Making sure that we bring something different to the table. And in terms of politics, this will not just be politics as usual. We're bridging that gap between the organizations, the people that's out here, and the politicians. We're bridging the gap between the day-to-day people and the political people. This is what we got to do. In order to change things, we must get political. Make sure that y'all get out, vote or gentrify, all power to the people.
Power to the people.
How would you gain the momentum to get the millennials out here into the voting polls?
What I want millennials to understand is that in me, they have a clerk that believes in them, that wants to know what makes this process more accessible to you. What is it about the process that is problematic for you? Let's sit down, let's brainstorm, let's figure out what the issues are, and then let's come up with a solid group of solutions for those problems. The young people that I've spoken to are very upset in that they see no real political power in the city. They want to see someone who is strong. I have 30 years invested in my political backbone. My spine is straight. My father told me just before he died, and he died when I was about 11, he said, people can't walk on your back if you're walking upright. I make a habit of walking upright. I have a reputation in this city of being a strong, forward-thinking, progressive leader. If coming to the polls on Tuesday does not work for you, then let's look at other states around the country who have voting on Saturday. People who have early voting. And how do they make that happen? We don't have to reinvent the wheel here in order to make the voting process accessible or the clerk's office accessible. We can look at other models that have worked around the country. We don't have to come up with the empirical evidence ourselves. It's already been done. Figure out what works and use the clerk's office as the bully pulpit to go to the state of Michigan, go to the governor, go to the legislature and say, these are the things that have worked around the country. This is what we need in order to make our young people engaged in the process. Now, let's figure out how to make it happen.
And with you making a big statement, with saying that just because our process here in Detroit as election is on Tuesday, that doesn't mean that we can't vote to get that changed to a Saturday or a convenient day where more voter turnouts is able to come. And doing a process like that with changing electoral voting date, that is possible in a clerk's position of obtaining.
It is, because when you look at our government as a whole, you go back to FDR. FDR said, someone asked him to do something, and he agreed with them. But he said, I agree with you, now make me do it. You have to make politicians do. You have to make elected officials do what you want them to do. So if millennials bring to me the fact that I can't vote on Tuesday, I just got hired at this job and I can't get off at all. I don't care if you keep the polls open until midnight, I can't get there. Then that's an issue that needs to be taken to the legislature and the governor. And they need to know this is a problem in Michigan. And if they don't agree with us, we shame them. Every opportunity that we get to be in front of a camera, we shame the folk in Michigan who don't want Michiganians to vote. Social media is very powerful. We take to social media. I love millennials and their fixation with social media. Come and follow me as I go to Lansing and I demand that our legislature make a change. Follow me as I go to the governor's office and knock on his or her door and say, we need to change the policies in this state.
Inside the city clerk position, we have many issues inside our community.
We do.
But one of the main issues also is getting information to the residents and the constituents inside each community. What would be a way for you to resolve with getting the information to the community, and not only getting the information to the community, but also having a more structured open door policy for the community to get information and get resources at the city clerk's office?
The key in all of what you said, in my estimation, is an open door policy. The current clerk, I think, is of the opinion that we elected her, or selected her, depending on your preference, to go down to the Coleman Young Municipal Center, go into the office on the second floor, lock the door, and keep the people out. That's not what we elected her for. We elected her to be an open and an engaging clerk to make certain that access to the office is available. I believe in going to wherever the people are. It doesn't matter to me. I'm not afraid of Detroiters, and I don't want anyone around the office of clerk who is afraid of Detroiters. If you are afraid of the people, you should not be attempting to attend to the people's business, because that's what you do as a public servant. You attend to the people's business. And if you're afraid to do that, that's like a cop saying, I'm afraid to go in neighborhood A because they're so violent over there. You need to hang up your holster and go get another job. I think the same thing for the office of clerk. The city clerk, if he or she is afraid of the residents of the city of Detroit, they need to pack a bag and move to some place that's more comfortable for them, and then they need to serve those people. They don't need to serve the folks in this town.
To talk about how this can be a main attraction for people to come and see them and support it. Okay. Alright. Feel free to walk around, watch the gate over there, because they're going to think you're ready to bring them in. Oh, okay. ranch and the history of the ranch, and I want to definitely fight for resources to improve the ranch and everything here and make this one of our main attractions in the northwest side of Detroit. So I'm going to shoot some of the footage. My son missing out.
A lot of kids don't even know this right here.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? We don't got to go to no places. We have resources right here. It's right here. Let's beautify this. Let's bring this up to your main attraction. You know what I'm saying? It's all our community, our nation. Teaching them, I know how to ride a horse when they get older. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know how to ride a horse. I don't need a car. I can take my horse out. You know, it's actually legal. You can have a horse.
This is the legendary Buffalo Ranch dedicated to the Buffalo Soldiers. And this is one of the main attractions of the northwest side of Detroit that I really want to advertise and make this a main attraction so people can see all the beauty of Rouge Park. And people, you know, it's coming out, petting the horses, kids, having this experience right in the city of Detroit on the northwest side of Detroit. So this is another part of my plan to redevelop Rouge Park, to make sites like this attraction and let people know that it's a ranch that's dedicated to the Buffalo Soldiers. It's a lot of you know, artifacts inside the ranch that storytelling can be done. And most important, this is an activity that's good for the family. This is a very family-oriented activity for the beautiful black family out here enjoying it. So we need to promote this and encourage this. And these horses are well kept. It's a beautiful ranch. It's owned by African Americans with a beautiful history behind the ranch and why it was created. So, Underwood for the underserved. Let's do what we need to do to make sure we have the right people fighting for the resources in the northwest side of Detroit. To make sure we have the true economic development that includes the people and also improve the quality of life for the residents in the District 7. Underwood for the underserved.
Okay, so one of the other points on your platform is skilled trade jobs. So tell us about how you could bring some money to the hood. What can we expect from that?
Yes, that hits home right there, skilled trades. I was involved in being a field technician for a corporate company, a very progressive corporate company inside America. With being involved in being a field technician, it was a lot of things that I learned, you know, but I wasn't really certified in that criteria. So with me coming in, you know, we fight for minimum wage, but these certificates and certifications we don't have. So we are getting a job, but we're not being certified, where when you're certified, you coming right off rip getting paid top dollar. So when I found out that I wasn't certified, you know, like I couldn't take this and go and start my own business. I still had to go get a certification, and I've been experienced 8+ years. It was very heartbreaking. With me being almost a level, I would say, in terms of how a field technician in my criteria, a level 4 technician. I was a Tech 3 Pro and almost a level 4 technician. I wasn't even getting paid top dollar. What if I had a skilled trade certificate for my criteria that I was involved in, I would have been making $5 more from my starting pay when I was just a level 1 coming inside with a certificate. At minimum, I would have been making $5 more. $5 more inside a home inside Detroit. A low-income home is a lot of money as an hourly wage. Is a lot more. Just at the minimum, $5 more.
Sometimes it's a lot for a come up for the day.
I'm Latisha. I have been working in this community for the last 10 years, volunteering. 7 years. I live in East Englewood on the other side of 94. It's a part of District 4, but I was on the board fighting banks, financial institutions, trying to hold them accountable for the properties that they own that were vacant, and squatters were given to. Had a fair amount of success with that, so now our neighborhood is on the rise again, but we're starting to see the gentrification that's taking place as a result of it. So I am here as a full-time volunteer. I've been volunteering full-time for the last 3 years thanks to my husband. I run a nonprofit organization called Record Development Corporation. We've been doing senior. I am. Well, this is my piece of literature. I am on here as New Era Detroit is endorsing me, but this is my literature that talks more about what I've been doing over the last 10 years. We have senior programming that we do, keeping our seniors engaged and mobile, social with one another in the community. We have youth programming that we do. It is. I find that it's Padu and Harper area. So my website for me is LatishaJohnson.com. But you could look up Mecca Development Corporation and you find a website for Mecca, and we would love to have you involved. All right. Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Have a good day.
All power to the people. 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 How y'all been? How y'all been?
With a lot of people running for office, you know, a lot of people don't have relationships with the community. And I mean, as far as when I say relationships with the community, somebody could say, I do have a relationship with the community, my cousin or somebody stay over there, or I have a friend. But when we have a sense of saying community, that means that directly affected people inside that neighborhood that you don't know. How do you build that gap with organizing those type of individuals?
You just have to be persistent, right? You know, one of the things that I plan to do, if given the honor of representing District 2 as our city councilman, is being very intentional about having a street team organized by my office and a street team that reports to my office, whose sole job it is to knock on doors. And so one of my campaign themes is walk the walk. And you know, you'll see a the hashtag walk the walk on anything I post on social media because of a couple things. One, because obviously, you know, I'm a person who believes in leading by example and showing you the receipts of what I've done to convince you of what I'm going to do. But also, just quite literally, I'm a person who loves to walk and knock on doors and talk to people. And that's the type of culture that I think that we're missing at City Hall for a lot of our districts, but specifically District 2. And so the way that you bridge that gap between the people who are either registered to vote and never do, or, because we have a lot of people who are registered but they don't vote, or have never been registered, the way that you bridge that gap between them and the city is by extending a hand and initiating that dialogue and making them believe and truly know that this is their city and they have a say in it. I think a lot of times people just don't recognize what kind of power that they have. And you know, my goal is to take the power of this office and put it in the hands of our residents.
Outside of the $1 One Dream initiative, how, as being city council, would you progressively move and grow that large dynamic of black-owned businesses inside your district?
Yeah, well, the first thing I would do is start looking at ways that we can get tax breaks to our small businesses. That's the very first thing, right? We've given a lot of tax abatements to the Dan Gilberts and Mike Illiches of the world, and you know, I don't have a bone in that conversation as to whether or not that should or should not have happened, right? But what I do believe is that we should be placing the same political priority on providing tax incentives and benefits to our small business owners who are barely making it month by month. And so that's the first thing I'm going to look at. The second thing I'm going to look at is finding the revenue wherever we can find it, whether it's from foundations, whether it's from corporations, but finding the revenue to start reinvesting in our business districts throughout District 2 that are struggling. You know, in District 2 we have the Avenue of Fashion. The Avenue of Fashion is an amazing place. I go there all the time. I have the support of many of the business owners on that street. But they're not the only business district in District 2. And a lot of our other business districts a lot of times feel feel left out of the city's growth. And so what I want to do is, through my office, help them find other sources of revenue, which takes us back to something we talked about before, putting that information in our residents' hands. You know, there's a lot of money out there for them to get, but a lot of times they don't know that. So we can create a District 2 business expo, for example. I think bringing our businesses together and pulling them together and helping them realize that we're all in this together and creating that culture, I think could go a long way to improving our economic viability in the city. And so it's not just the $1 One Dream initiative that'll help. It's a whole package of policy initiatives that's going to bring our district back. But the one thing that all of these ideas have in common is that they center the people. They center our residents. They center our district. And I think that District 2 deserves to have a councilman who focuses on his residents and not, you know, big macro issues that sometimes really don't even affect our day-to-day lives.
So with being already on the city council seat, what are some of the initiatives that you already created? Because I know about Occupied Corner.
Yes.
And then homelessness, but really touch bases on both of those, but really touch bases on homeless, because a lot of people think that homeless is just, you know, somebody sleeping outside, and a lot of us people, residents, are homeless, and we don't look at the mindset or the terminology of homeless at a broad scale.
Yes, yeah. And so homelessness is one of those issues, like you say. I mean, how do you define homelessness? I mean, people are couch surfing, and do you consider that homeless? I'm not sure. But the issue of homelessness is a real issue here in the city of Detroit. And what we've done through the task force actually is really focused on youth homelessness. And so individuals between the age of 18 and 24 is what we focus on. And really through DPS, you'll be surprised how many young people are considered and are actually on reduced lunch program and are homeless in Detroit public school system. So through our task force, we've been able to identify those individuals, try to place them in permanent supportive housing, and really just raise awareness around the issue of homelessness and try to change the stigma that is attached to it. So I truly believe that we all really are one paycheck away from being homeless, and we have to address some of the underlying issues around substance abuse, mental health issues, and really placing people into housing first and then addressing those issues after and giving them the wraparound services that they need.
Okay. With doing that, talk a little bit about Occupy the Corner.
Occupy the Corner, love it, one of my favorite programs. And so that was my way of continuing to give back to the neighborhood, to the community, to the inner city hoods, making sure that the disenfranchised, impoverished areas in the city are receiving the attention that they deserve. Oftentimes they're overlooked, that's where the crime takes place, but we never address, you know, why violence takes place, what breeds crimes in our community. It is usually unemployment, it's lack of education, mental health, whatever it may be. And so we try to address those underlying issues by providing those communities and empowering them with the resources that they need to improve their quality of life. So we have mental health information, minor felony expungement, all types of quality of life issues and services that can help them. And we're always in the hood, so Mack and Bewood, Gratiot and Rones, whatever it may be, you will never see us in high income areas. It's always inner city disenfranchised communities.
Because of the task, your task force going into Detroit Public Schools. With us, with me being inside Detroit Public Schools and doing mentorship program, I have seen that. You know, and noticed a lot of these youth are homeless. They're staying with friends. They're not eating. So with that being said, what about the affordable homes?
So affordable housing is a huge issue. Number one, everything that is coming to the market and that's coming to Detroit is not affordable. It's market rate and people who can afford to live in it, you know. And so that has been my main question. So what I've tried to do is make sure that all new residential developments that come into Detroit set aside at least 20% of those units to be affordable. I also created a housing trust fund to fund additional housing opportunities for those who are very, 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 very low income. So we're talking about maybe 50% area median and under. And so just affordable housing is important to me, making sure that we have quality affordable housing. Another huge issue that people oftentimes don't talk about is the condition of low-income Section 8 and senior housing. If you go into any of those buildings, you'll be like, wow, they are deplorable.
Yes.
I mean, bed bugs, mold, and there's no reason that our people, our seniors, low-income people should be living in those conditions. And so I've tried to address that as well too with some of the policies that I brought forward.
Okay. And what is technically low affordable housing? What is the margin for that?
So 80% area median income, which some people may define or say that it's not really affordable housing, and that's why I've tried to go a bit lower to 50%. Okay. So what I'm proposing actually addresses 80, 60, and then 50% AMI. The Housing Trust Fund goes a little bit deeper to about 30%. And when we talk about numbers, 80% AMI is roughly about $48,000 annually. Okay. So that's just to give you kind of a figure.
And one quick thing, a lot of people always say low-income housing and affordable housing is two separates.
Yeah.
Could you gap that bridge that gap in between low-income and affordable housing for the people?
I kind of see them as the same thing. I mean, low-income housing is intended for individuals who are low-income. How it's defined usually is by the area median income, which again usually does not exceed 80% AMI. So if you make more than 80% of the area median income, which is about $48,000, you would be above what the affordable limit is. So we are targeting people who make less than $48,000. That is defined in the city right now as low income, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Winding down right now. I just want you to, be speaking to the young folks, the younger generation of our people. Let them know why it is imperative that they get out and they vote August 8th, and then vote. August 8th is the primary.
Yep.
That is huge that people get out and vote in the primaries. And then get out and vote November 7th
that's
for the general election. Why should these young folks get out and vote, when they feel like the political system has done nothing for them?
You should vote because this is the difference between living and dying. It's the difference between your family being able to get jobs and not get jobs. It's the difference between the neighborhoods being able to see money and see revitalization and not. It's the difference between people being able to have their water on and not have their water on, between different people being able to keep their houses and not keep their houses. That's the difference right here, man. This is one of the most monumental elections, because if we do not vote, and if we do not vote for this and vote for me, Coleman Young II, you're talking about people who are literally going to be gentrified. Folks who have lived here their whole entire life, who are now going to be wiped out as if they never existed. And we're talking about reducing poverty. Because poverty cuts your life short. It really does. And so this is the difference between people living and dying, between people working and not working, between people surviving and people striving. So if you want change tomorrow, vote for Coleman Young today.
Coleman Young is on the head of our slate. We're definitely pushing to get this brother in office, because we don't have a choice. We don't have another day to waste.
No.
We don't have another minute or a second. We have to move accordingly, and this is moving accordingly. This is moving progressive, and this is in the biggest form, the people being able to take back control of their own lives and their own situations. The right politics can do so much for us. So in Detroit, let's show the world how real politics can work for the people if the people get involved with voting and the election process. So y'all make sure to get out there and vote for Coleman Young come election time, and let's change the narrative in the city of Detroit. Vote or gentrify, all power to the people.
Appreciate you, brother. Thank you. Appreciate you. Yes, sir.
Yep.
Right, so you sold me, clearly, we're all sold, but what do you got to say to the person who's never voted, the person who might not even be registered to vote? What would you say to make them go out, if this was election day, to go out and write your name in, not just vote, but write your name in that ballot?
I would tell them, don't let your past determine your future. Get out here and get active inside your community, be proactive inside your community. I was once one of those individuals that, my vote don't count, all that. But until I started getting involved and knowing that system, I had to get out here and get involved in order to change that system and progressively move my community forward and my situation forward. I would say if you're looking for somebody that's not just talking, but walking and doing what they say they're doing. You know, don't go to this poll this year off the normal politics as usual, off of a good speech that somebody's saying. I'm out here putting in the work 24/7, 7 days a week. I never got paid for this, doing what I've been doing with inside New Era Detroit. Everything that we have developed inside New Era Detroit came from donations from our own pockets and donations from the community already. Let's walk the walk. Let's do and vote on people that has been doing things inside the community, that progressively been moving the community forward. You can do a background of what I've been doing inside the community. My action is going to speak louder than these words. It's amazing all the work that has been put in, that I have been a part of inside our community. It's very overwhelming. I look back at it and sometimes I can't even believe, with just a little bit of effort that I have put in inside the organization and doing the work, what we have created, what we have put together as a whole. You know, so imagine if we all get involved in doing something inside our community, what we can create, what would happen inside our community, you know, for the future, because that's why we do everything, is for the future. So I definitely want to tell everybody to get out here and vote for the future. Write my name in. You know, it's something different, but you go in there and consciously doing your vote. You're consciously writing in somebody's name. That is more powerful than just going on there and going to a systematic with a name on the ballot. When you write somebody's name in, that's coming from your heart. That's why we need to have real change in the heart of the city. Real change in the heart of Detroit. Right in James Eberheart Jr.
So we just want to let y'all know that we stand by Mary Waters, the city council at large. Be sure to get out there and vote. Go and vote August 8th and make sure that she is the one on that ballot, and then we're going to vote again November 7th to make sure she's the one in that office. So we have to come together and bridge that gap. This is not your typical politics in the city of Detroit this year. I don't care what's been going on around the nation. I don't care what's been going on in the past here in the city of Detroit. We're going to change the way that people view politics, and we're going to get people to understand that voting does matter. Your voice does count. And if we come together and if we stand as one and if we vote as one, we'll see change within our community, because all of us, it's a collective effort. So we all have to be involved in the process, and I believe bridging that gap is going to change everything in the city. So we stand by Mary Waters for city council at large, and you should too. Get out there and vote. All power to the people.
Would you give the people who are actual residents in voting in the upcoming elections? Because in these elections and different things like that, you hear a lot, the people, the residents have decided this, but as you stated earlier, the overall people, I didn't vote this person in. So who technically is the residents or the registered constituent voters in these elections?
They are just that. They are the people who are actually validly on the rolls of the city of Detroit's voting rolls. If you are not a registered voter, and in some instances if you are not a property owner, you have no say in making decisions in this city. But if you have a legitimate right to make a decision, the person in charge of tallying the votes which actually manifest those decisions has to count those ballots the way we are voting. You cannot say that the mayor doesn't want to invest in neighborhoods. So if the people say they want a community benefits agreement, you can't say, oh no, the community benefits agreement didn't win, and then you come up with the numbers that make that a foregone conclusion. You can't do that. You've got to say, if the people said they want a community benefits agreement, and they said that they want to make certain that they have input into how jobs are allocated in this town, then that's how that's supposed to work. There should be no modification of the will of the registered voter in this town. And unfortunately, we talk about there being an absence of integrity in the office of city clerk. That's exactly what we're talking about. People are saying that no matter how they vote, the vote is going to come out the way the powers that be want it to come out. That is absolutely, unequivocally wrong, and it must change.
With this upcoming election being very crucial, what would you tell the people why to vote for you for this upcoming election, and let them know when to vote for you for this upcoming election?
I would say to the people of the city of Detroit, go to my website. website, www.D.EttaWilcoxon.com. Go to my Facebook page, @Team Wilcoxon Public Servants. Take a look at my history. Google me. Go back to the lawsuits that I have filed on behalf of the residents of the city of Detroit. Take a look at the recounts that I have had. Take a look at the fact that there is no one in this town that can impinge my integrity. There's nothing out there that is less than integrity driven in my life. I have invested my entire life in building my integrity. I am not afraid of the residents of the city of Detroit. They know that. They know that they can trust me because I have proven myself trustworthy. That's why they should vote for me. And August the 8th, and again on November the 7th, the residents of this city should go to the polls and cast a ballot for Dieta Wilcoxon. In my estimation, without a doubt, I love the people of this town.
As y'all see today, we're with Vote Or Gentrify City Council candidate, District 2, Nguvu Tsare. Let the people know, if today was the election day, what would you tell them, and why should they write you in?
Look, what I would tell you if today was election day is vote your heart, vote for the future of our district. Don't vote out of fear, vote out of hope and belief that we as a community can change our conditions. We don't need any outsider, we don't need any outside influence to do for us what we can do for ourselves. We have all of the power right here in District 2. And so I hope that you vote for me and write my name in on November 7th, because I genuinely believe that I'm the candidate in this race who has a proven track record of working in communities like yours. Every single day of my life, I've worked in communities like yours. And if you give me the honor of representing you for the next 4 years, I'll take the power and the influence that comes from this office and use it in a way that empowers your life. And I can give you that promise today because that's what I've done for the past 14, 15 years. I know I look like a baby, but I'm almost 30. And I've worked tirelessly since my teenage years to make life better for people like you. And so I hope you give me the opportunity, the privilege, the honor to represent you at City Hall. And then November 7th, when you write my name in, I promise you, you're writing in a better future for our district. Thank you so much. I appreciate the opportunity.
Appreciate you, man. Hey, that was great. So with all the development that's coming on inside your district, how do you see that to benefit your community?
Yeah, so I mean, I've always tried to use catalyst projects. For example, we have Herman Kiefer, we have the Packer plant. Those projects as job generators for people who live in our city, and so making sure that they're creating jobs. Not if they don't create jobs, that they're actually employing or educating our young people, making sure that they're in skilled trades and apprenticeship programs, giving back to the inner city community, creating rec centers, community centers, safe havens for our community members to go to. And so I think it's important that if they're not job creators, that they are employing or educating our young people and creating safe places for them.
Okay. And if today was the election, what would you tell the people to go out there and vote? And what day to vote for you?
So I would tell people, if you want to continue the momentum that is going on in District 5, if you want me to continue to fight for low income, the least of the, and really making sure that everyone is included in the new Detroit that we're creating, I would encourage you all to get out and vote. November the 7th is the general election. I will not be on the primary ballot, but I would love your support and continued support as I move forward here in the city of Detroit to make Detroit an inclusive city for all.
All right, so there you go. Vote Or Gentrify. As you see, we have Councilwoman Mary Sheffield over here in District 5 for November 7th. Get out here and vote. Vote Or Gentrify.